Thank you. Good evening, dear students. So today, third day of this workshop, DS in Python. So yesterday we have seen how to create the tuples, and we have seen the sets. Okay, and I have given the some two programs also, and some of the students are submitted. Okay, and what I observed is some of the students are copied from somewhere else. If I am not wrong, some of the students, I'm not telling all the students, some of the students are copied from maybe the online resources. Okay. Okay, anyway, we will start our session. So I will share the screen now. Yeah, is it visible? The screen is.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and yesterday we have seen how to create a set, and how to add the elements to the set, how to remove the elements from the set, and we have seen several methods like copy method, is disjoint, is superset, and is subset. Now we are going to see how we are going to perform some of the set operations. Set operations means in mathematics you have seen some operations like union of two sets, and what we called intersection, and the difference, and one more is called as symmetric difference. Okay, now we are going to see how we are going to perform all these four operations: union operation, intersection, difference, and symmetric difference in the concept of sets. So as you know, union operation means union of two sets means we are combining the two sets. Okay, so when we are performing union operation, the elements of two sets are combined. Okay, so in Python we are going to use the function called as union function. The function can be written like this: s1 dot union of s2. That means that s2 will be added to this s1. Okay, s1 dot union of s2. Okay, or otherwise, instead of using function, there is a symbol called as or. Sorry, s1 or s2. ఇలా కూడా రాయొచ్చు. Either you can write s1 dot union of s2, or you can use s1 or s2. So by using any one of these notation, you are going to perform the union of two sets. Okay, either you can call the union method, or you can write the or symbol. Okay, so let me open my compiler, online compiler, and where I can audit some score Jeff వచ్చిందండి. Yeah, this is now if I have some elements comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, and s2 is equal to some 5 comma 6 comma 7. Now if I write a print of s1 dot union of s2, that means I want to add s2 at the end of s1, then we will get the output as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so two sets are combined. Okay, so instead of writing this method, you can write s1 or s2, then also you get the same output: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, for union purpose, either you can call the union method, or you can write the or symbol, s1 or s2. Okay, then intersection. For this intersection means we are going to obtain the elements which are common in both the sets. Intersection operation always gives the elements which are common in both the sets. So here the function is, the name is intersection, s1 dot intersection of s2 we are going to write. Okay, s1 dot intersection of s2, then this operation will give the elements which are common in both the sets s1 and s2. Okay, either you can use that function, or you can use the AND symbol, S1 and S2. Okay, either you can use this method or you can go with the AND symbol also for performing the intersection operation. So here, if you write what we call the AND symbol, then what we will get? We will get the null set, empty set, null set, because there are no common elements in S1 and S2. Okay, if you have any common elements, then you will get that element. So here 4 is the common element, so we'll get the only 4. Okay, either you can use the AND symbol or you can go for the intersection function. Okay, intersection of S2, or you can go with S1 and S2. By using any one of these things, you can get the common elements which are common in both the sets. Okay, then the next one will be difference. Okay, so difference of sets means if I write S1 minus S2, what it gives? What it gives? Difference means in sets. If I write S1 minus S2, what it gives? If I write S1 minus S2, this will give a set of elements. This gives a set of elements that are only in S1 but not in S2. S2. So difference means if you write A minus B or S1 minus S2 means A minus B రాశారు అనుకోండి, దాని మీనింగ్ ఏంటంటే we are getting the elements that are only in A but not in B. Similarly here S1 minus S2 means we will get the elements that are only in S1 but not in S2. By performing this difference operation, we will get only the elements which are present in S1, not in S2. Okay, so for performing this operation, we are going to use a method called difference method, or we are going to use minus symbol. Okay, these are the two ways. Either you can use S1 dot difference of S2, or you can write S1 minus S2. Okay, by using any one of these ways, you can perform the difference of two sets. Okay, so difference means set of elements that are only in S1 but not in S2. If you write reverse, S2 minus S1, then you will get elements that are only in S2 but not in S1. Okay, so here if you write S1 dot what we call difference of S2, that means we will get the elements which are only in S1 but not in S2. So here S1 contains 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 is again available in S2 also. So we will get output as only 1, 2, 3. The elements that are present only in S1 but not in S2, we will get like this. Okay, by using this difference method, S1 dot difference. If you write S2 here and here S1, S2 dot difference of S1, then you can get 5, 6, 7. That means the elements are present only in S2 but not in S1. Okay, so instead of writing this method, you can write the S1 minus S2 also. Then also we get 1, 2, 3 here. Okay, that's about difference operation. You will get the elements are present in S1 but not in S2. Coming to the symmetric difference. Okay, so suppose if you are performing a symmetric difference of A and B, for example. Okay, you are performing symmetric difference of two sets A and B. That gives a set of elements that are present in A and B but not in both. A and B but not in both. That means the common elements you will not get. The remaining elements you will get. Okay, a symmetric difference will give all the remaining elements except the common elements in both the sets. Okay, so set of elements that are present in both A and B sets, but not in both. That means common elements will not be given here. Okay, so the method for this one is, the method name is symmetric underscore symmetric underscore difference of S2, or you can use the cap symbol S1 cap S2. For symmetric you can use S1 cap S2, or you can go for S1 dot symmetric difference of S2. Okay, by using any one, this one you can go with cap S1 cap S2. What you will get? All the elements 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 except the common elements. What is the common element here? 4. So we will not get 4 here. To the remaining elements. So instead of this cap, you can write the symmetric okay, then also you will get same values 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So symmetric difference always gives the elements that are in both sets S1 and S2, but not in both. Okay, there are 4 operations we are going to perform on sets: union, intersection, difference, and symmetric difference. Okay, is it clear? Hello.
Yes, sir. Clear.
So next, sets last topic, that is frozen set. Okay, the set which is called as frozen sets. Okay, so what is the purpose of frozen set and how we are going to create this frozen set? Okay, generally the sets or set objects are mutable objects. Sets are mutable objects because we are performing adding elements or removing elements, removing particular element. We are performing all the things. That's why sets are the mutable objects. Okay, so if you want to make the sets are immutable objects. Okay, if you want to make the sets are immutable objects, then you are going to use this frozen sets. Okay, these frozen sets are immutable objects. That means changing of elements or adding of elements that are not possible with frozen sets. Okay, so whenever in any project or in any application, if you want to make your set as an immutable object, that means nobody can change the values of your set, then you can make your set as a frozen set. Okay, so frozen sets are always immutable objects. Once the frozen set is created, it is not possible to add any element to that. Okay, so that frozen set can be created like this. We can write the set name and A is equal to, we can write the function, that function name is frozen set. Frozen set of, here you can pass any values. Okay, in the form of list or tuple, you can pass any values. Suppose I can pass like this. A is equal to frozen set of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then what happened is one set is created with the name A, and in that we have the elements A, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you want to perform any changing element that is not allowed in this frozen set 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the purpose of frozen sets is to make the sets are immutable objects. We are going to use this frozen sets. Okay, normally sets are mutable. If you want to make your set as immutable, then you are going for frozen sets. Okay, let me show you with example. So here I can write S1 is equal to, I can write frozen set of some elements 1, 2, 3, 4, and I write S2 is equal to frozen set of some 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now if print S1 and if I print S2, it will directly shows these two are the frozen sets. In the output, you will get a frozen set like this. See here. Frozen set 1, 2, 3, 4 and some frozen set 8, 5, 6, 7 like that. Okay. And in this, if you are trying to add any element like S1 dot add of, okay, S1 dot add of some 7, for example, it will give the error. Frozen set object has no attribute add. That means adding is not possible for the frozen sets. Okay, so once you create the set with some values, that is fixed. We cannot change the values, we cannot add the values. Okay, that's why frozen sets are immutable objects. And if you want to make your set as immutable, you can go with this frozen sets so that nobody can modify your set. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then that's about the data structure called as sets. Okay. And now we are going to discuss about the next data structure, the fourth one, that is dictionaries. The next one is dictionaries. The fourth data structure, the built-in data structure in Python is dictionaries. Okay. And one more point before going to dictionaries. Yesterday, one student asked that the sum of two lists. Yesterday we wrote the same logic, but that will not work fine. So we will take two lists like this, and we will take one more list to show the result. And we are going to traverse the first list. And what we are going to do is, for third list, we are going to append the first list element plus the second list element like this. Sorry. And finally, you can print the L3. Okay. Or you can write here the range of 0, 3. Okay. For I in range of 0, 3, because we have three elements here, 0, 1, 2. So the range will be 0 to 2. So 0, 3, L3 to append of L1 of I plus L2 of I. Then you will get output like this, 5, 7, 9. So 1 plus 4, 2 plus 5, and 3 plus 6. Okay. Like that you can add the two lists. Okay. Yesterday one of the students asked, that's why I told that one. Okay. Then the fourth data structure is dictionaries. Okay. So this dictionary is also one of the important data structure in which we store the elements. We store the elements as a pair of key and value pairs. As key and value pairs. That means whatever the elements we are going to store inside the dictionary, and each and every element should have one key and one value. Okay. Elements should be stored in the form of key and value pairs. So each and every element should have the key value and should have the one value also. Okay. And here each key is separated from its value using the colon. Okay, using the symbol colon, we are going to separate the key and value. And consecutive elements are separated with comma operator. Consecutive elements are separated with comma operator. Okay. So every element, whatever element you want to store, each and every element should have the two things. One is key, second one is the value. And after writing key, you have a colon followed by the value. That is the meaning of this statement. Each key is separated from its value using colon operator, and each element is separated with comma operator. Okay. After first element, you put the comma, then second element like that. Okay. And for creating dictionaries, we are going to use the symbol called curly braces. Okay. Within this curly braces, you are going to write the elements. Okay. And one more point is, whatever the keys you are going to write, all the keys must be unique. All the keys must be unique and immutable objects. Okay. Whatever the keys you are writing, those keys must be unique and immutable objects. That means duplicate keys are not allowed, and all the keys should be immutable objects. Okay. Okay. Now, if you want to create a dictionary, how we are going to create? Okay. If you want to create an empty dictionary, then you have to write the dictionary variable name is equal to empty curly brackets. This is for creating empty dictionary. Okay. Suppose if you want to create a dictionary with some key and value pairs, then what you are going to write? D1 is equal to, sorry, open curly braces. Then here you have to write the first element. For writing first element, you have to write key 1 colon value 1. This entire thing is called as one element. Every element should associate with one key and one value. So key 1 value 1 means this is first element, followed by comma. Cheppanu kada, consecutive elements separated with comma operator, and key and value separated with colon. So key 1 colon value 1 comma, you have to write key 2, and you can write value 2. So on, so any number of elements like this, key 2 value 2, key 3 value 3, like that. You can write as many number of elements as you want, but every element should have key and value pair, and all the keys whatever you are writing, that keys should be unique. Okay. Duplicates are not allowed. Okay. Okay now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then next one is the third way of creating dictionary is by using the DICT function. Okay, we can create dictionary by using a predefined function named as DICT. For this function, you have to pass the elements like this. Within square brackets, you can specify the elements, that is key 1, comma, sorry, value 1, that is first element, comma, key 2, comma, value 2, comma, so on, so, and close the square brackets and close the function. This is the another way for creating a function using the predefined function DICT. Okay. If you want to create empty dictionary, you can go with like this. If you want to create dictionary with some element like this, you can go for like this. If you want to use the predefined function, you can go for T1 is equal to DICT of key 1 comma value 1, some key 2 comma value 2, like that. Okay. Okay, now let me show you. D1 is equal to, I am writing empty square brackets, and if I write like D1, it will print the empty set dictionary here. Okay, we are creating the empty dictionary. Suppose if you want to pass some values here. Suppose I am passing the first one is roll number, that is the key, and colon, the value is some number, either number 123 for example. Okay, and second key is name. The value for name is ABC for example. Okay, and the third one is I am writing course. The value for this course is, I'm writing BTech. Okay, so here this roll number, name and course are the keys, and 1, 2, 3 is the value for roll number. A, B, C is the name, sorry, value for name, and BTech is the value for course here. Here we are showing 3 elements here. First element is roll number, second element is name, third element is course. The value for roll number is 123. The value for name is ABC. The value for course is BTech here. If I run this, your dictionary here. Dictionary with 3 elements. Course BTech and name ABC and roll number is 123. Okay. Okay now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Instead of this, you can go with this one also. You can go with the predetermined function called dictionary. You can write square brackets, and here you can write what we called roll number, comma 123. This is the first element. The second element is name, ABC. That is second element, and third element is course, comma what we call BTech. Okay. So then also it will create one dictionary with 3 elements. Course is BTech, name is ABC, and roll number is 123. Okay. So there are 3 different ways for creating dictionaries. Empty dictionaries, dictionary with some values, and dictionary created by using the DICT function. Okay. By using any one of these 3 ways, you are going to create a dictionaries in Python. Okay. So after creating dictionary, how we are going to accessing the dictionary elements? Sorry, how we are going to access the dictionary elements? Okay, after creating dictionary, how we are going to access the dictionary elements? Earlier in lists and tuples, we are going to access the list elements and tuple element by using index value. Okay. But in dictionaries, there is no index values because every element is having key value and some values. So there is no index values in dictionaries. So instead of index values here, in order to access the values in dictionary, we are going to use keys. By using keys to access the dictionary elements or dictionary values. Okay, we are going to use keys for accessing the dictionary values. Okay, so for example, if I have some dictionary like this, one is equal to, sorry, within curly brackets, you can have something like this. The roll number 123 and the name and ABC, comma, and the course, what we called. Okay, if I am having the dictionary like this, D1 is equal to some roll number, name, and what we call course. And if you want to access the course, then what you have to write? D1 of what is the course key? D1 of course. You can write the print D1 of, within quotations you can write course because there is a string. So print D1 of course. Then you get the output as BTech. Okay, you get the output as BTech here. Like that, you can get, see here, print D1 of, I can write a course. Output as BTech here. Okay, like that, you can give any key value. Based on that key, you will get the associated value here. D1 of roll number. What is the roll number in D1? 123. So we'll get 123 here. Okay. So by using key, we can obtain the value. Okay. Whenever you want to obtain any value from dictionary, you have to use the key value like this. D1 of key. Within square brackets, you can specify the key. You will get the associated value. Okay. Or otherwise, the Python provides one more function, that one more method called as get method. Okay, Okay, now we have to use get method to obtain the value associated with the key. Okay, that means here you can write like this: d1 dot get of name. Sorry, get of name. You will have it as ABC. Okay, either you can write d1 square bracket and something like this, or you can write get of name. Okay. Okay, now. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but here the problem for this one
Yes,
here
sir.
is, yeah, but here observe one thing. If you write d1 square brackets, inside that you write some key like this. Is the A's keys available in this dictionary?
No.
Is A's is the key available in this dictionary?
No.
No. So when you use these square brackets and if you specify the key which is not available in the dictionary, then immediately this will give the error. Key error వస్తుంది మీకు. It will give the key error. See here, key error is. Okay. But if you use get function, this will not give any error. If you write is here, it will not give any error. Simply it does nothing here. See here, returns none. It will not give any error. That means none means that element is not found. That means key is not available in the dictionary. Okay, that is the main difference between the square brackets and get method. Okay. Like that, you can go for either square brackets or what we called get method to access the dictionary elements. Okay. There are two ways for what we called accessing the elements. The next one is adding or what we called changing the elements. Adding or changing the elements in dictionary. Okay. So we can add the elements or we can change the elements. Okay, of existing element in a dictionary using an assignment operator. Okay, using the assignment operator, you can use or you can perform change operation or add operation. Okay, suppose if you have some dictionary like this, D1 is equal to something like this. What I'm going to write? Anything. Okay, either try to, but I'm writing this example and what we called name and ABC and what we called course and BTech. Okay, this is my dictionary. Okay, then if you are writing something like this, D1 of some course quotations course equal to, now I'm writing MTech. Okay, D1 of course is equal to, I'm writing MTech here. Then whatever the key you are passing here, if the key is already available in the dictionary, then the value for this key will be changed. Okay, so whatever the key you are writing here, if this key is already present in the dictionary, the associated value will be changed with this current value. Okay, then if you print D1, you will get the roll number is 123, name is ABC and course will be MTech. అర్థమవుతుందా? Hello? See here, if I write D1 of course is equal to, I'm writing MTech. Then I print this D1. What it prints? Roll number is 123 and name is ABC. And what is the course name? MTech here. Okay. Whatever the key you are specifying here, if the key is already present, the associated value will be changed. Okay. Okay now. Suppose I am write like this. D1 of marks is equal to 85. Then if the specified key is not present in the dictionary, then it will create a new key in the dictionary with the key marks and the value is 85. That means one more element is added with the key as marks and value as 85. Okay. Follow Nara. Hello. See here. Here roll number is there, name is there, course is there, along with the fourth element is marks is equal to 85. Okay. Okay now. So if you want to add any element, directly connect dictionary variable name and the key is equal to some value. Then automatically that element is added to the dictionary. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So like that you can add, or if you want to change, you can write the appropriate key value here and new value here. Okay. For changing and adding, the syntax is same. But here the key, if the key is present, associated value will be changed. If the key is not present, new element is added with this key value. Okay. So adding or changing the elements. The next one is deleting elements or removing elements from dictionary. Okay. So to delete a specific element, to delete a specific element from dictionary, we are going to use the keyword called del. Okay, we are going to use the keyword called del. So what we want, del space, what we call dictionary variable, inside the brackets you have to pass the key. Then associated value and key both are deleted from the dictionary. Del is the keyword space dictionary variable name, that is dictionary name, followed by square brackets. Inside you have to pass key. Then immediately that will be removed from the, what we call dictionary. So see here we have only 3 elements are there, roll number, name and marks. Now if I write del space D1 of, within quotations, name, that means the element name will be deleted. Name ABC is deleted. Only roll number and course will be there. That is the output. Course and roll number. These two are there. Okay. If you want to delete the specific element, you can go for del keyword space D1 of key. Okay. Suppose simply you write like this. Del space D1. That means del space dictionary variable, not the specifying key value. Then what happened is this entire dictionary will be deleted from memory. Okay. That means if you write del space D1 and if you are trying to print D1, it will say some error. D1 is not defined. See here. D1 is not defined because that del keyword deletes this D1 from memory. Okay, that's why that D1 is not available. So we get the error as D1 is not defined. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Then there is one more method called as clear method. So as you know already in sets and lists and tuples also we have this clear function. So in order to remove all the entries in dictionary, we have to use this clear function. To call this function, what we are going to use d1 dot clear. You will get now only empty dictionary here. See here. All the elements are removed. Only empty dictionary is there. Okay. Like that you can go for either DL keyword or what we call clear. Okay. Or sometimes you can go for pop method also. Okay. Sometimes you can go for pop method also for removing the elements. So you can call like this d1 dot pop. So here what we called you can pass. See here, pop method takes one parameter, that is the key value. So we can pass the name. So we can have only course and roll number. Okay. So either you can use anyone, either DL keyword or pop or clear. Anyone you can use for deleting the elements from the what we call dictionary. Okay. Is it clear? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Then next, we will see some of the important methods available in dictionary. The first method is keys. Okay, the first method is keys method. This method returns. This method returns. Sorry. This method returns a list of keys in a dictionary. Okay. Returns a list of keys in a dictionary. So that means whenever you want to obtain only keys from the dictionary in a form of list, you have to use this keys function. Okay, this can be called like this. That means dictionary variable dot keys. This function will give a list of keys which are available in the dictionary. Only keys you have to obtain from this keys method. Okay. Similarly, if you want to obtain only values, you have to use this values method. Returns a list of values in a dictionary. Okay. The syntax will be dictionary variable dot values. Okay. Dictionary variable dot values anagane you will get only the list of values which are available in your dictionary. Okay. Suppose if you want to get the both keys and values. Okay. If you want to obtain the both both keys and values, then you can go for the method called as items. This will returns a list of tuples. This will return a list of tuples in the form of key and value pairs. In the form of key and value pairs. Syntax will be same. That is dictionary variable dot items. Okay, dictionary variable dot items. You can get the all the elements in your dictionary. Okay, so let me show you with example. So here we have one dictionary. Okay, and Here we have 3 keys, roll number, name and course, and 3 values, 123, ABC and BTech. Now if I print D1 dot keys, this keys method return the list of keys kada. In the output you got only roll number, name and course. See here, name, course and roll number. Only keys you are getting. Here the name will be dictionary keys. Okay, this is the list of keys. Okay. Similarly, if you want to obtain the values, you can go for D1 dot values. You will get DICT underscore values. What are the values? BTech, ABC and 123. Okay. If you want to get both, you can go for items. Then you get tuple. This is the tuple, and in tuple, sorry, in list, you will get each tuple contains the key and value. Course, BTech and name ABC. This is tuple. Roll number 123. Okay, like that you can obtain specific keys and values, and what we call the obtain the elements by using this items function. Okay. Are you following?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, then the next one is update method. This update method will adds key value pairs of one dictionary to another dictionary. Key value pairs of one dictionary to another dictionary. That means once the dictionary is available, and if you want to add one more dictionary values to this dictionary, you have to use this update method. Okay, syntax allowed to that we can D1 dot something update of D2. D1 dot update of D2. That means this D2, whatever the elements in D2 that are added to D1 here. Okay, that are added to D1. For example, here D1 is there already, and I'm creating D2 here. So here I'm writing a course అయిపోయింది కదా, then branch. Suppose I'm writing branch. I'm writing ECE, and I'm writing college. The value for college is Shreyas. Okay. Now, if I'm writing D1 dot update of D1, sorry, D1 update of D2, then whatever the elements in D2, that is branch and college, will be added to D1. So if I print D1, you will get the 5 elements. Name is ABC, branch is ECE, college is Shreyas, course BTech, and roll number is 123. Okay. Like that, if you want to add one dictionary to another dictionary, you have to use this. You have to use this update method. Okay. The next method is copy method. The next method is copy method. This method will return the copy of one dictionary. Okay. It will copy the one dictionary to another dictionary variable. Okay. Here what I can write here, D2 is equal to D1 dot copy. I'm writing D2 is equal to D1 dot copy, and if I print D2, D2 also contains the same values, roll number, name and course. See here. So we are copying D1 into D2 here. Okay. That is the copy function. Then the next function is from keys. Okay, the next function is from keys. Okay, the syntax of this one is from keys of sequence comma value. Okay, this is the syntax. From keys of sequence comma value. The purpose of this function is creates a new dictionary with keys from this sequence. and value set to this value. Okay, so in the place of sequence, either you can use list or string or tuple, whatever you want, and whatever the sequence you are specifying here, from this sequence one dictionary will be created. In that dictionary, whatever the values you are writing here, all the values are called as what we call keys, and whatever the value you are writing here, that value is set to all the keys. Okay. For example, let us take one list. Okay, I'm using one list here. Suppose the list contains employee ID and what we called employee name and salary. Okay, my list contains 3 elements: employee ID, employee name, and salary. Okay, so here why I am writing square brackets? This is optional one. Okay, that's why I'm writing square brackets. So now I'm writing D1 is equal to, okay, I'm going to call this function DACT dot from keys of here in the here in the place of sequence I'm going to use this list L1. I'm going to write -1 here. In the place of value I'm writing -1. That means by default all these values are assigned to -1 here. Then if I print D1, the output will be like this. First key will be employee ID. The value for that one is -1. The second key will be employee name and value will be -1. And third one will be salary and value will be -1. This is the output we're getting here. Okay, so here we are using L1. So whatever the elements the list contains, all these are acting as keys. So keys on keys are the employee ID, employee name, and salary. All these 3 are keys. And whatever the value you are specifying here, -1, that will be assigned to all the values. -1, -1, -1. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That if you want to create a dictionary from the sequence, you can see the output. Employee name is -1, salary is -1, and employee ID is -1. So it is possible to create a dictionary from another sequence. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So give me dictionary now. Yeah. So iteration. That means if you have the dictionary like this, roll number 123 and name ABC and what we called course and BTech. Okay, suppose if you want to iterate or if you want to traverse this dictionary, then you have to write for loop like this for some I or X in D1. Okay, for some variable name in D1. Okay, the dictionary variable name colon, and if you want to print all the values, you can go for print that D1 of X. So this X will contain the keys. If you write D1 of X, you will get all the values. See here, what are the values? 123, BTech, and ABC. Okay, like that you can iterate through the dictionary. Okay, same as lists. List lo kuda you can iterate this using for loop. Okay, for X in D1, you can write print D1 of X. Okay, or otherwise you can write like this also, D1 dot keys. Rasna both output same vastundi. ABC, BTech 123 same output. If you write D1 or D1 dot keys, both are same. Suppose if you write here D1 dot values, then simply you can write only x here. If you want to get the values, we'll get only values here. Okay. Okay, now. Same as you can write like this. For k, v, two variables, and there is a method called items. Items method ఉంది కదా? Items returns a list of tuples that will be obtained, that will be stored in key and value. Then if you want to print this one, you can write key followed by k, and similarly if you want to print the values, so here you can write value, sorry, and you can write v here. You can print each element key and value. See here, what is the output? Key is course, value is BTech. Key is roll number, value is 123. Key is name and value is ABC. Like that you can traverse or you can iterate through the dictionary by using the for loop, either by using keys method or values method or items method. That depends on your program or depends on your application. Okay, that depends on your wish. You may write anyone. Okay, that for loop is useful for writing this, what we called dictionaries. Okay, is it clear?
Sir,
And that's about the dictionaries. In
Sir,
lists, yeah, cheppandi.
is it possible to assign multiple values to a single key?
Multiple values to
To a single key.
multiple values to single key.
Yes, sir. Like course లో బీటెక్ తో పాటు ఎంటెక్ అట్లా మల్టిపుల్ వాల్యూస్ తీసుకోవచ్చా సార్?
That is not possible. Each element should be key and value ante, but that is not possible. Okay.
ఓకే సార్.
Yeah. And I forgot one topic in the lists, that is list comprehension. This is also a very important topic. I forgot in the concept of lists. List comprehension. Okay. The purpose of this list comprehension is to provide a simple way to create a computed list. Okay. Normally we are creating list like this. L1 is equal to some element 1, element 2 and element 3. Like that we can write the lists. Okay. But sometimes we are going to use this list comprehension for creating a computed list. Okay, for creating a computed list in a single line. Okay, whenever you want to write a computed list means by using some expression we are going to find out some values, and those values we are going to store inside the list. That list is called as a computed list. Okay, the syntax for this one is list underscore variable is equal to, here we can write expression, and for variable in sequence, here we can write like this. This is the syntax for list comprehension. Okay, expression for variable in sequence I am writing here. Okay, then the list comprehension that will create a list. Okay, now, so in the place of sequence we can use range function, or you can use strings, or I can use any other list also. Okay, so for example, if I write like this, L1 is equal to square brackets, in the place of expression I am writing for in range of 1,6. For example, I am writing for, in the place of here I am writing I, in the place of sequence I am writing range of 1,6. And now in the place of expression I am writing I double hash 3. in Python, double asterisk is for power operation or exponential operation. I to the power of 3 రాయాలంటే I double asterisk 3 రాస్తాను నేను. Okay, so this means that the I value first 1 అవుతుంది, next 2 అవుతుంది, next 3, next 4 up to 5. So when I becomes 1, it becomes 1 cube. Okay, so after this, if you print L1, the L1 is 1 cube 1 అవుతుంది, next 8, 27, 4 cube అంటే that is 64 and 5 cube అంటే 125. These are the values are stored in this what we call list L1. Okay. Okay now. Like that, sorry. Like that, you can use list comprehension for creating a computed lists. See here, output 1, 8, 27, 64 and 125. These are all cubes of I values. 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube, 4 cube and 5 cube. Okay. Okay now.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, you can use the dictionary comprehension also. Dictionary comprehension, అది కూడా రాసుకోవచ్చు మీరు. Dictionary రాస్తారా? Dictionary within curly brackets, you can write some variable name, that is key, colon, మనకి ఇక్కడ ఏం రావాలి? So suppose I am writing x into x square రావాలి నాకు. X into x for x in range of 1,6. అంటే మీనింగ్ ఏంటంటే ఫస్ట్ x వాల్యూ 1 అవుతుంది, అప్పుడు కీ వాల్యూ 1 అవుతుంది అండ్ వాల్యూ ఎంత అవుతుంది? 1 into 1 1 అవుతుంది. నెక్స్ట్ 2 4 అవుతుంది, 2 4, నెక్స్ట్ 3 9, 4 16. Okay, like this you can create dictionaries also. See here, yeah, 1 2 3 4 5 are keys, 1 4 9 16 25 all are squares of this one. Okay, like that you can create dictionaries or lists by using the comprehensions. Okay, list comprehensions or what we call dictionary comprehensions. Okay, ఏదైనా రాసుకోవచ్చు. Okay,
Yes, sir.
is clear?
Clear, sir.
Yeah, that's about the 4 built-in data types available in the Python language: lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. Okay, so by following some notations, we are going to create any one of these dictionaries and we are going to perform the operations on those data structures. Okay, now we are going to discuss about stacks. Okay, and we are going to see the how to implement stacks using lists in Python. Okay, so generally stack, the definition of stack is a linear data structure in which insertion and deletion takes place at one end. Insertion and deletion takes place only one end, which is called as top of the stack. This is the definition of stack. Stack is a linear data structure in which insertion and deletion takes place at only one end, which is called as top of the stack. That means in stacks, both the operations like insertion and deletion both are performed at only one end, which is called as top of the stack. Okay, the best example for this one is if you have your CD tray, ఉంటుంది కదా, CD tray, that will be like this, and where you can have the CD stand like this, and if you have some CDs, first one, and maybe the second one, and maybe the third one, maybe the fourth one. Okay, you have the 4 CDs. And if you want to place the new CD, where you can place? Where you can place the new CD? Where you can place?
The top.
Yeah, on top of the top CD. If you want to remove one CD, always you can remove the top CD. Am I right? So this is called as stack. So whatever the element you want to insert, it will be done at top, and removing also done at the same position, that is top of the stack. That is called as a stack. Is a linear data structure in which insertion and deletion takes place at only one end. That end is called as top of the stack. Only from the top of the stack we are going to perform the both insertion and deletion operations. Okay. Okay now. That is the example for what we called a stack. Okay, you can take any example, bunch of books or bunch of what we called plates. Okay, you can take any example. That is the example for stack. Okay, and here by placing the element like this, always we remove the top element. That means the element which is inserted last, that is the first element to be removed from the stack. Am I right? Whatever the element you inserted last, that element is the first element to be removed from the stack. Am I right? That's why stack follows one principle that is called as last in, first out. That is LIFO principle. Stack follows LIFO principle. That means last in, first out. That means that whatever is inserted last, that is the first element to be deleted from the stack. Okay, so stack follows. So stack follows LIFO principle. Last in, first out. Last inserted is the first element to be coming out. That's why last in, first out principle is there. Okay, last in, first out principle. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and generally stack contains 2 important operations. And what are the operations?
Push and
Push
pop.
operation and pop operation. So this push operation is for inserting an element at the top of the stack. At the top of the stack, and pop operation is for removing top element from the stack. Removing top element from the stack. There are 2 important operations we have in stacks: push operation and pop operation. Inserting the element into the stack and removing the element from the stack. Okay, and these stacks can be implemented. Okay, generally in C language we can say the stacks are implemented by using arrays and by using linked list. Okay, C language lo cheppuntaru. We can implement the stacks using arrays and using linked list. But here in Python, we are going to implement the stacks using lists and linked list also. Okay, but now we are going to focus only on this thing, lists only. Okay, we are going to discuss about only lists because you know the lists in Python. Am I right? You have some knowledge about list concept. That's why we are going to see how to implement stacks using lists. Okay, how to implement stacks using lists. Okay, this is very easy. See here. Directly I will write the program. Is it okay?
Yes,
sir.
And anyone tell me, I think you know the how to write functions in Python? How to write functions in Python?
Yes,
You know? What is the syntax we follow for writing functions?
using def keyword.
We can write,
Function name.
we can write some parameter list here and write colon here, and you can write the function body here. Am I right?
Yes,
So that first you have to know first, because this program we are going to write using the what we call the functions only. So whenever you are going to write functions in Python, you have to use def keyword space something like add, okay, and you have to pass some parameters, okay. And here in Python language there is no concept of data types, okay. Remember that in Python there is no concept of data types. So simply you can write add of a comma b. Whereas in C language or Java language or in C++, you are going to write int a comma int b and raster. But in Python you don't have any concept like that, data types. So write a comma b and colon. Okay. And here I want to perform addition of these two numbers. So I can write C is equal to a plus b, and I am printing this C value here. Okay. And now this is the function def of add of a comma b, and we are performing C is equal to a plus b and print the C value. Now after writing function, I have to call the function some add of 10 comma 20. Okay. Then if I run this program, the output is 10 plus 20. What is 10 plus 20? We are getting 30 here. Like that, first we have to write the function and we can call the function here. Okay. Here directly we are passing the values. Otherwise you can read the value from the keyboard and you can pass those values as the parameters to the function. Like that you can write the functions in what we call the Python language. Okay. So now you know how to define the functions in Python. So now we are going to implement stacks using lists. So in this, we are going to define three functions. One is push function, second one is pop function, and third one is display function for displaying all the elements available in the stack. Okay, so push, pop, and display here. Okay, push function, pop function, and display function we are going to write here. Okay, remember that we are going to implement the stack using lists concept. Okay. So here we are implementing stacks using list. So first of all, to implement stack using lists, we require one list. So I'm taking the list name as stack. Earlier we write L1, L2 like that, but in this program I'm going to write stack. STACK is equal to some empty square brackets. I'm creating empty list here. Okay. Then
yes,
I'm going to write a function. The function is def. The first function is what we call push function. And in order to perform this push operation, you have to provide one element. Whatever the element you want to insert, that will be passed like this. Def space push of ELE. Okay, def space push of ELE. Okay. And in C language, when we implement the stack using arrays, in order to perform the push operation, we are going to check one condition, whether it is the overflow condition or not. Am I right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in C language, whenever you implement stack using arrays, there is a situation called as overflow. Because in C language, array size is fixed at compile time. Beyond that, we cannot store the elements. That's why we have to check the overflow condition. But here in Python language, in lists, there is no size limit. You can store as many number of elements as you want. So here there is no situation called overflow. Okay. And here, in order to add the elements, I'm going to use append function. Because as you know, the append function always adds the elements at the end. Am I right? Append
Yes,
function
sir.
always adds the element at the end. మనకు కావాల్సిన అదే కదా స్టాక్ లో ఏమో మనకి సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ యూ కన్సిడర్ స్టాక్ లైక్ దిస్ ఆర్ లిస్ట్ లైక్ దిస్ ఇలా ఉందనుకోండి స్టాక్ ఆర్ లిస్ట్ ఓకే one element will be like this, second element, third element, fourth element ఇలా ఉంటాయి కదా fifth element like this. Okay, and if you store one element here, the next one will be stored at the end. Am I right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
That's why we directly use the predefined function stack dot append of ELE directly. Okay. This is about the push function. Very easy this is. Compared to C language or Java language, writing Python program is very easy. Only single line for push function. Okay. Now I'm going to write the pop function. I'm going to write the pop function here. So pop function is for removing the element from the top of the stack. But before performing this pop operation, as a programmer, you have to check whether the stack is empty or not. Because if the stack is empty, it is not possible to delete the elements from the stack. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
That may be C language or Java language or Python. This is same. So the first condition we are going to check is whether the stack is empty or not. So in Python, if you want to check whether the list is empty or not, we are going to use the length function, the length of stack. If the length of stack is equal to 0. Okay, if the stack is empty, the length will be 0 kada.
Yes, sir.
If list is empty, length will be 0. So if this is true, we can print the situation called as underflow.
Underflow.
Underflow. That is, the stack is empty. Otherwise, you see, I'm writing colon here. I'm writing colon here. That is mandatory. Okay. Otherwise, నాకేమవ్వాలి always last element, always top element will be deleted. Am I right? In stack, if the elements are like this 1 2 3 4 6 ఉందనుకోండి, this is the top element. Am I right? 6 is the top
Yes, sir.
element. Delete అవ్వాలి. So in Python language, in lists, to delete the last element, what is the method we are going to use? We discussed already. We are going to use pop method. So pop method key, if you are passing index value, then that element will be deleted, particular element. If you are not passing index, it will delete the last element from the list. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So I can call directly stack dot
Yes, sir.
pop directly. Okay, that's the pop function, stack dot pop. Then I can write the last function called as display. For the purpose of displaying all the elements also, I'm going to check whether the stack is empty or not. Because if the stack is empty, it is not possible to delete the display the elements. So if the stack is empty, we can print the message underflow. Otherwise, you can print the elements. In order to print the elements, you can write for what we called I in stack. You can print I. Okay, for I in stack and followed by print of I. so that whatever the element the stack contains, all will be displayed here. So we implemented 3 functions: push function, pop function, and display function. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Whoa. If I copy these things to this online compiler, maybe the indentation problem will be there. No problem. Okay, it comes like this. Same. Okay, very good. Yeah. So I wrote already the 3 things. So pop, push, and display functions. Now we have to write the
Main
calling of these functions. Okay. For calling of these functions, and I want to print the output in menu format. Okay. I want to print the output in menu format, like first option is push, second option is pop, third option display, fourth option is exit. Okay. For the purpose, I'm going to write the while loop. Here I'm writing true. While of true, that means this is the infinite loop here. And here I want to print Kanpisna.
Yes, sir.
I'm writing here first option is push. The second option is pop. And the third option is display. The fourth option exit. Okay. And after that, we are going to take the choice from the user. So what you have to print enter your choice. Okay. Then you have to ch is equal to int of input. The choice will be integer number. So we are typecasting here int of input. Okay. Then we have to write check if I is equal to 1. Generally in C language you have a switch case, but in Python there is no switch case. Okay, that's why we are using nested if else here. If I is equal to 1, we have to read the element from the keyboard. Enter element, what we call, you want to insert. Then we can read element is equal to int of input, and that element we can pass and we can call the push function here. Push of ELE. This we can done if I is equal to 1. Choice. Sorry, not I. This is CH. If CH is equal to 1, we can call the push function. Else if in Python, else if we can write like this, ELIF. Okay, C lo aithe ELSE space if and rastaru, but Python we are writing ELIF. Else if H is equal to 2, then we can call directly the pop. L if CH is equal to 3, we have to call the next function called display function. Else, final else block, we are going to call exit function. Okay, this is the while loop for calling all the functions: push function, pop function, display, and exit. Now if I run this program, see here the output is it visible?
Yes, sir, visible.
Display 4 options: push, pop, display, and exit. It will asking for enter a choice. When I give the choice as 1, it is asking for enter element you want to insert. So we are giving 2 here. Then 2 name stack is not defined. What happened here?
Stack was not copied, sir.
Yeah. We can write stack. Stack is equal to square brackets. Okay, that is not copied actually. That's why. Yeah, here I'm writing 2. So 2 will be inserted, and again it will display the choice because we are writing infinite loop. So until the user presses 4, This will repeat it. Again, if I give choice 1, ask for element. Suppose I'm giving 4. Then 2 and 4 are there. Again, I'm giving 1. And the element is 6. Now the elements are 2, 4, 6 are there. If I'm giving 3, it will display 2, 4, 6. Okay. Choice is 3. Elements are 2, 4, 6. If I'm giving 2, then pop. That means 6 will be popped now. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
3, reprint only 2 and 4. 6 is popped. Then if I giving again 2, now 4 will be popped. Now if you give 3, only 2 will be displayed. If I given 2 again, that is pop again. Then if you give 3, no elements are there. You will get underflow condition here. See here. If I given 4, program will be terminated like this. So this is the simplest implementation of stack using lists. Okay. This program we can write in so many number of ways. Okay. So this program we can write using classes also, classes and objects in Python, because Python is a object-oriented programming language. But unfortunately, you don't know about classes and objects. That's why I will tell you the simple program. Okay, using the stack using lists. Okay, whatever the program you write, but the output is important. Okay, that program should act for the stacks. Ante. But whatever the program using lists or using the simple functions or classes or objects, that's your wish. Okay. But always the program should be more generalized and the program should give the output exactly. That's what the program is important. Okay. అర్థమైందా ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఇది?
సార్
చెప్పండి
సార్ ఫంక్షన్ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయడానికి వేరే ఏమైనా మెథడ్ ఉందా సార్?
ఫంక్షన్ కి
ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయడానికి వేరే ఏమైనా మెథడ్ ఉందా సార్? అంటే పాప్ ఆఫ్ ఎలిమెంట్ కాకుండా వేరే ఏమైనా మెథడ్ యూజ్ చేయొచ్చా సార్?
ఎక్కడ ఇలాగా
కింద ఇందాక ఫంక్షన్ కాల్ చేశారు కదా సార్ మీరు?
ఇక్కడ ఇదా?
అవును సార్. అది పుష్ ఆఫ్ ఇయర్లీ కాకుండా ఇంకా వేరే మెథడ్లో రాసుకోవచ్చు సార్ మనం?
అంటే ఇక్కడ మనం రాసింది పుష్ ఫంక్షన్ కదా, ఈ ఫంక్షన్ కాల్ చేయాలి. ఈ ఫంక్షన్ కి 1 పారామీటర్ ఇస్ రిక్వైర్డ్, సో యూ కెన్ పాస్.
సార్ సంథింగ్ అప్లై మెథడ్ ఇంకో ఇది ఉంటుంది కదా సార్? అది
I didn't get actually apply. So here what happened is whatever the functions you are defined here, these functions should be called. The function name and function call name same undali. Push and push. Actually I didn't get your question actually exactly. మళ్ళీ చెప్పండి క్వశ్చన్, నాకు అసలు అర్థం కాలేదు క్వశ్చన్.
సార్ నేను వాట్సాప్ లో టెక్స్ట్ చేస్తాను సార్.
ఓకే ఓకే. Okay, is it clear this program is?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yeah.
Clear, sir.
Yeah. That's about the implementation of stack using lists. There are so many ways for implementation of stacks in Python language by using the predefined classes and objects or methods. But I am focusing on only lists because you know only lists. That's why I'm focusing on this lists only. Okay. Next, you have to know the applications of stacks. I think already some of the students who attended the data structure skill development program, they know applications of stacks. Okay, so the applications of stacks, the first application is expression, evaluation and conversion. Okay, that means conversion from infix to prefix or infix to postfix can be done, and the evaluation of and the evaluation of prefix or postfix can be done using these stacks. Okay, expression evaluation and expression conversion will be done using this stacks concept. Infix to prefix, infix to postfix can be done using this, what we call stacks. And undo operation in text editors. Undo operation in text editors. Maybe you are using Microsoft Word or Notepad or some other Word document. Use chesinapudu. Sometimes if you type the wrong one, see immediately what you are going to do? You are pressing Ctrl Z. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the Ctrl Z is for performing undo operation. So for implementing that undo operation also, the test editor developers will going to use the concept of stacks. Okay, and to reverse the string, we are going to use stacks concept, and in recursion or the normal function calls, they can use the stacks concept. And in web browsers like Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, or the Microsoft Edge, whatever the web browsers are there, in web browsers, the back button or forward button is there. For these operations, they are going to use the concept of stacks. Okay, for this, they are going to use stack operation. And in graph traversal also, in this graph traversal also, they are going to use stack. In graphs, they are going to use we have two traversals, BFS and DFS. For DFS, we are going to use stacks. Okay. These are some of the applications of stacks in real time. Okay. But the other frequently mostly used applications of stacks. Okay, this is also important question for your I think placements point of view. Next, we are going to see about queues, and if you see the definition of queue is also a linear data structure in which insertion takes place at one end and deletion takes place at another end. Okay. Queue is a linear data structure in which insertion takes place at one end and deletion takes place at another end. That is called as queue data structure. And at which end you are performing insertion, that end is called as rear, and at which end you are performing deletion, that end is called as front end. So every queue will have two ends. One is front end, second one is the rear end. From front we are performing deletion, from rear we are performing the insertion. Okay. So if you see the example for queues are you can see any what we called the
Ticket
movie
booking.
tickets. Yeah, ticket booking, movie tickets or train ticket reservation. You have some queue like this, and there we can have two ends, and only from one end insertion is possible, and from another end deletion is possible. This is the queue, and maybe assume that this is for insertion, this is for deletion. So then this is called as the rear end, and this is called as front end. From front we are performing deletion, and from rear we are performing the insertion. Okay, and here in queue, whenever the yeah, very good. So the queue follows Q follows first in, first out. That is FIFO principle. Because whatever the first person entered in the queue, that person is the first coming out from the queue. That's why Q follows first in, first out principle, FIFO. Stack follows LIFO, and Q follows FIFO principle, first in, first out principle. And here also we are going to perform two operations. One is Q and second one is DQ. Stacks we call it as push and pop. In queues we call it as NQ and DQ. Here NQ is for insertion and DQ is for deletion. Okay, NQ operation is for inserting the new element at rear end, and DQ operation is for deleting the element from the front end. Whenever you want to delete the front element, you can go with what we call the DQ. If you want to add the element at the rear end, you are going to use NQ operation. Okay, so these are the two operations we are going to perform inside the queues, NQ and DQ. Okay, so here also we are going to discuss about only the implementation of queues. Okay, we are going to see the implementation of queues using lists. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. And directly shall I write the program here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I require one list that is called as queue. Queue is equal to, I'm writing a empty list here. Okay. And then I have to define one function. Define NQ of ELE. The function name is NQ, and we are passing one parameter ELE. Okay, so here also yeah, here also we are going to add the elements at the end. Okay, in queue also, suppose if one person is there, at the end another person should be added. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So that's why here also we are going to use the same function, that is q dot append of ELE, same as stacks. Because append method always adds the new element at the end of the list. So q dot append of ELE. Okay, that is the only line. And the next one is DQ. Here first you have to check, same as stacks. Here also you have to check whether the queue is empty or not. Because if you want to delete any elements, you have to check whether the queue is empty or not. So if the condition is satisfied, then you can print the situation called as underflow. Else, then in queues, what is the element to be deleted first? What is the element to be deleted
Which
first?
is inserted first.
Which is inserted first. That means first element should be deleted first. Am I right? So here what I'm going to write here is q dot pop of 1. That means the first element I'm going to delete the first. Okay. Sorry, pop of 1 called pop of 0. Because the index starts from 0 onwards. So pop of 0. So always first element should be removed from the queue. The next function, display. This is same as your stack. If length of queue is equal to 0, then we can print the situation called as underflow, and else we can print for I in what we call Q and print of I. Okay, so we are printing all the elements, and this will be same while of true, and we are going to write printf 1 NQ and print of 2 DQ and print of 3 play. And print of 4 exit, and directly you can write like this: ch is equal to int of, directly in the input function you can specify your choice. Okay, if ch is equal to 1, you can write element is equal to int of input of enter element, then NQ of ELE. Else if is equal to 2, then we can call, we can call the DQ. Else if the indentation is very, very important. If you don't follow the indentation, the most of the errors coming in Python language is the indentation. Okay. Else, that's why you should follow the like this colon operator. Then only will get the indentations. Then if I run this program, see the output: NQ, DQ, display, and exit. Enter your choice. If I give the 1, it will ask for the element, that is 10. I'm giving here. Then next choice 1 again. Choice 1 again. I'm giving 20 here. Again I'm giving choice 1. I'm giving the element 30 here. If I print 3 here, it prints 3 values: 10, 20, and 30. If I'm giving 2 here, first element to be deleted, 10 should be deleted. If I print display, 20 and 30 will be displayed. Okay, na? If I use 2 here, then again 3, it will be double 30. Okay, if I giving 2 here, then again 3, you will get underflow. If I given 4, that will be terminated. Okay, like that we can implement the stacks, implement the queues using lists. Okay.
Essay.
Yeah, that is the implementation of queues using lists. Okay. And what are the applications of queues? Anyone tell me?
Graph traversal.
Graph traversal, very good. Yeah. Then the main application చెప్పలేదు ఇంకా ఎవరు. What is the main application of queues? Graph traversal is one of the application. Anyone?
Scheduling algorithm.
Yeah, scheduling algorithms in operating systems. Very good. Scheduling.
Playlist in jukebox.
Playlists. Jukebox That means all the media players, playlists we are going to use. And one more thing is,
Breadth first search.
yeah, breadth first is coming under graph traversal. Whenever we have the shared resources like printers,
Mails.
CPUs, okay, all the things, we are going to use the queues. That means in the shared resources, whenever we want to use the shared resources by some other 2 or 3 persons, then immediately queues will be used for waiting purpose, waiting queue and the normal queue. Okay, so the example for printers and CPUs. Okay, these are all some of the applications of queues. Okay, and in queues we have another types of queues or circular queues and what we called priority queues also. Okay, this is what we discussed is normal queues. Similarly, we have circular queues and we have the priority queues also. So to avoid the disadvantages of normal queues, we can go for circular queues. Okay, and priority queue means each and every element is associated with one priority. Based on the priority only, the elements will be stored in particular order in the queues. That is called as a priority queue. Okay, so ఇంకా క్యూస్ లో అంతే, క్యూస్ అంటే ఇంక అంతే టాపిక్. ఓకే, ఎనీ డౌట్స్?
No, sir. Clear.
యా,
Dear participants, if you have any queries, you can unmute yourself or else you can put it in the chat box.
anybody having any doubts? So due to the lack of time or shortage of time, we cover only the built-in data structures. As your workshop title is data structures in Python, we covered all data structures in Python, like lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. We discussed all operations. Okay, and we discussed only stacks and queues implementation using lists only. But there are other data structures like linked list, trees, graphs. Those are also implemented in lists and some other ways using classes and objects. But that I am not covered due to lack of time. Okay, so you can practice that one by already you understand the lists, tuples, and all these things. So by using this knowledge, you can easily learn or implement the linked lists or what we call the
I would like to represent the token of appreciation to the speaker, Professor A. Venkata Srinivas, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just so you can implement all these data structures, linked list, trees, and trees. Just go through the. We have online various online resources. You can go through or implement your wish. And if you are facing any difficulties or if you are having any doubts in any data structures or in any concept of like Python or C language or Java language, I am always available for you to clarify your doubts. So you can either you can text me to my WhatsApp number or you can send a mail, that is av.srinivas@srds.in. Okay, at any point of time you can contact me, and you can, if you have any doubts regarding your technical doubts, okay, either C or Java or Python, whatever, C++, okay, immediately you can contact me. I'm available for clarifying your doubts. Okay.
I would like to commence the vote of thanks. I would like to express utmost gratitude to the speaker, Professor A. Venkata Srinivas, sir, for spending his valuable 3 days with us and teaching us. And the intuitive use of the assessment made the workshop much more interactive. We would also like to appreciate administrative and non-administrative staff, our respected HOD sir, respected principal sir, the management, and also IEEE STAYA's student branch counselor Maruti Rao sir for giving us their valuable inputs and support for the workshop. I would also like to extend our gratitude to IEEE for giving us the opportunity to learn about these concepts. Again, we would like to thank our speaker for joining us and sharing his long knowledge via these sessions. We would like glad to have more such sessions, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you everyone. Thank you to IEEE Shreyas student branch for giving me this opportunity for as a resource person, as a speaker for this workshop. Okay, so I provided my knowledge. Okay, if you have any doubts, immediately contact me. And if any student wants to tell any feedback about this 3 days workshop, anyone? If anyone wants to tell anything about these 3 days workshop,
Yes, sir. Hello,
yeah,
sir.
tell me.
Am I audible?
Yeah, audible, tell me.
Yes, sir. Actually, you explained very clearly, sir. Every part, I really enjoyed the sessions. Even I attended data structures in C also. Uh, we are pleasure to have you with us, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you, sir.
thank you very much. Yeah. Any other? Only all the students from Shreyas College only, or any other college students are there? All are from Shreyas.
Yes, sir.
All are from Shreyas only.
Yes, sir.